Do, 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 do. All right, so it says we are live. So, hey everybody, I'm Adam. We don't have a John. However, I don't know, he just hasn't checked in today yet. So hopefully he'll get the memo and maybe hop on, or maybe he thought that you guys were just here. So anyway, so we got Jake here. Y'all know Jake. Team Jake.
I'm back.
And then we got Kenny here. So Kenny, go ahead and take a few moments and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and who exactly you are.
Yeah, Kenny. I'm from Vancouver, Washington. 34 years old. I've been in the RC hobby in one way or another, whether it's flying, racing, floating, since '94. RC's basically just been my life. Flew helicopters for a living for a long time, raced throughout that time, and then recently got into drifting and really been enjoying that. So kind of it's just my life. I sit down at my RC stuff every single day, the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your helicopter career? Because
yeah, dude, I am so curious about that, because when I saw you flying it, I was just blown away.
Yeah. So to start off with, my dad was an airline pilot. And so I guess when my mom was pregnant with me, she was a flight attendant. So I've been flying since before I was born. And I've always just absolutely loved aviation and, wanting to do something with aviation. I was about 5 years old when I started flying. I couldn't go out and get in a real airplane, and fly. So, I had the opportunity to get into flying, and I started flying airplanes in '94. And, it was a nitro powered, just big, 48-inch to 54-inch wingspan planes that you had to use a starter motor for. I was so small I couldn't start them. And most people were on a buddy box, so somebody that could fly had a cord to another radio. They'd flip a switch, give you control. You got in trouble, to take control. It'd take most people like 2 or 3 weeks, and it took me 2.5 days, and I was flying solo. And it was just, I spent every moment that I could out of the flying field and really progressed quite quickly and got into racing cars off-road, probably about 10, because I wanted something to do in the wintertime. And so I did that for a few years, raced really competitively, national events, was really successful with that. And during that racing time, it really helped me to learn and understand the mechanical aspect of anything RC a lot more, because you break something, you got to get back on the track really quick. And a lot of the guys on the professional level, they're rebuilding their cars entirely between rounds. So I got really proficient with that. And getting into helicopters, I was at the track one day, and a guy had a helicopter. It's called a GWS Dragonfly. It was a fixed pitch helicopter, wouldn't hardly fly on its own. And I was like, I'm going to buy that and try it out. I've already been flying. I think I can do that. And bought that helicopter and just took it like fish to water. 6 months to the day after I picked up that helicopter, I won the Northwest Freestyle Championships in Masters class. And I was 14, 15 years old at that point. And it was just, at that point, I knew it was something I had to do for the rest of my life. It intrigued me. I soaked up all the information that I possibly could with it. It was so much fun and rewarding to do the helicopter thing, because it's probably one of the hardest things to do with hand-eye coordination that I have ever found.
So just to throw it out there, this is collective pitch, like stunt flying. It's not like just flying recreational. It is the sickest thing if you see it in live. Also totally scares the crap out of you at the same time, because the sound that those blades make and the quickness that those helicopters can change direction, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, if you're standing out there with me in one of my competition 700 helicopters, we run 2S in our drift cars. I run 14 on these helicopters, and I can produce 27,000 watts of power for a very sustained period of time, which is well into the 20 horsepower range. And it vibrates your clothes on your body, just the sound these helicopters make. So it's really fun. It's definitely exhilarating to watch, and it is quite scary.
Mhm.
So you have to have a respect for him.
I mean, so I guess in not retrospect, but in similarities to this, you're technically almost always in constant drift with a helicopter. I mean, kind of
Yeah.
the same thing with a quadcopter. Yeah, like a drone, but yeah. So nothing new to you, huh?
No, not really. It's just a different aspect. Another new thing.
You were using gyros way before we were.
Yeah, when I started flying helicopters, we didn't really have gyros. We had mechanical piezo gyros, which had a little weight that was spun by an electric motor, and there was 2 3-axis sensors on either side of it. When the helicopter would move, that gyroscope would twist one way or another, and it was supposed to keep the tail straight, a heading hold gyro.
Mhm.
It didn't. It was just kind of a gimmick. So it was, you really had to fly by the seat of your pants. All the bad habits that a helicopter had, you had to fly correcting those while you were doing your aerobatics
Mhm.
on top of it.
So
So
is that like a mechanical gyro?
yeah, it's a mechanical piezo gyro.
Yeah, that's cool. That's crazy.
So
Yeah, it's-
on a collective pitch helicopter, the 2 sticks, are they both centered and spring loaded in the center, or is it mode 2? Like I fly mode 2 on a drone, right? So left side is throttle and it just kind of stays wherever you want, right?
yeah. So left side is we call it collective and rudder. The right side is your cyclic, so forward, back, right, and left. All of them are sprung to center except for the throttle, the collective.
Okay, so
It's
mode 2.
yes, mode 2. Just it's all the same. But the collective is just wherever you set it, it's going to stay.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very, 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 very cool. And yeah, you guys, like, if you ever get the chance to see one of those big helicopters fly, and fly stunt, it's cool. It is one of the coolest things you will see.
It hurts my brain to think, like, how do you think so fast? And like, just because I saw you at the expo, you're like upside down and getting it really close to the ground. I'm like, dude, I would just straight to the ground.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Go ahead. Well, you kind of get to the point where you're just along for the ride. Like, when you saw me fly out there, is, you get to the point when you're at that kind of level where basically when I've plugged in my battery and the helicopter's gone through a setup period, I've kind of already subconsciously gone through the flight. And it's just, I know what's going to happen. And there's no connection from here to my hands. It's just, here to the helicopter. It's like, I decide I'm doing something and it happens. Yeah. And it takes a long time to get to that. No, a lot of people can't, but it's practice and just repetition, doing the same thing over and over again to get to that point. But it is, you got to be 2 or 3 maneuvers ahead of it, because if you're not, it's going to be way ahead of you.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. It's just that you always got to stay in front of it, which is crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, even the like DRL, Drone Racing League guys, right? Those guys are flying so fast, and it's like almost muscle memory for each of those gates that they pass through. And it's not actually muscle memory. They're literally doing it all from instinct, and it's like it is crazy, because the speed in real time, that like if you ever see a video clip of it, it's not slowed down. Like it is insanely fast for what they're doing, and they're doing like split S curves, inverted dives into gates, all that crap. Like, and it's so fast.
A buddy of mine
definitely
gets a freestyle drone course at his house now, because he's like really big into 250 size drones and stuff. It's wild.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. That's like the Drone Racing League and the freestyle drone stuff is really the video gamers don't do well flying a helicopter like I fly, or an airplane. You have to have a lot of finesse and very deliberate with what you're doing on the sticks. You can't just jam the sticks around. But the drone racing stuff, you can fly like that. So video gamers do very well at it. They set up like the roll and pitch is like, their roll and pitch rates are 560 degrees per second. And they know if they slap the stick for this amount of time, it's going to be upside down. It's going to be on a quarter roll.
Yep.
So they know how to slap the stick to get to those particular points. So a video gamer does really well with those.
Mm-hmm. It's super. Whenever I set mine up in Betaflight, it was super doughy in the middle, but I got my rates all the way up to about 10 something, and I want to say 1080. It was pretty quick, but nothing like too substantial, right? It was cool, quick enough to make that snap sound, just on the rotation. But
yeah,
okay. I always make a joke because like the first thing that I bought that flew, I was always scared of flying because I didn't want it to fall out of the sky like a rock. And the first thing that I got literally falls out of the sky like a rock. Like doesn't glide, doesn't do anything. It just falls.
Yeah. If you got one failure, it's all over.
Rockets.
Yep. Jake, you want to try? I got 3 of them hanging on the wall.
I used to fly them. Yeah, I just kept wrecking them. I just got tired of it.
I mean, okay.
Yeah,
So
if you guys want to get out there and learn to fly, I'm more than willing to lend a hand.
right on. That is one thing about flying that I love. Like, it doesn't have to be expensive, and parts to replace can be cheap.
Oh yeah, dude, airframes are like super cheap. Like I bought like a 3D plane. I don't remember what the heck it was, but I still have it. I haven't built it yet, but it was like $120 for this whole thing. It's crazy.
Like, for instance, how much is a drift motor? Drift RC
easily.
motor. Like
$120 usually.
$120 to $190 depending on what you get. Or if you're like Alex and want the overdose motors,
Me too.
yeah, like what, 250, 300?
Yes.
And I was looking at one today and I'm like, wait, this is a BS dual. Like, it's literally a BS dual. It's not a Fledge, it's not an Agile, it's just it's
put their name on it.
Yeah, it's just a BS dual overdose motor.
Oh my gosh.
And they made them in like the weirdest turns too. Like the ones that I saw today were like 9.5 turn, which is like whatever. Like, it's AccuVance, right?
Yeah.
I've seen Cole has a 11.5, right?
I have 2 11.5s.
You have
actually.
okay.
I was actually talking to Timmer about it earlier today. It's kind of funny.
And then I have the 15.5. So yeah, just all kind of weird stuff. Okay, confirmation. John is not making it tonight.
Okay. Kenny, what is your preferred motor turn?
I really like the overdose motor. It is expensive and probably a little overpriced for what it is. I've tried a lot of the motors, but I noticed with the overdose motor, it's got that really good low end punch that I like. Granted, I crank up the in-bell timing, but it just seems like I've been the most comfortable with that motor. And like when I like a product, and it works for me, I stop thinking about it as part of my equation in my car. So if it's good, it's not really a concern, and it's just, it's kind of there on the sideline, just working, doing its job. So the overdose 10.5 is what I'm running now that I've been happy with. Version 2.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, if you were to take a look at the rotor, like where you put your pinion, does it give you a number on that?
Ooh,
Yeah, it does.
It's AccuVance.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It is
there is a number on
AccuVance. We want to know all about it.
It says 125, but my pinion's over the rest of it. So
That's it. That's all that there is. It's 125. So that's a 12.5 millimeter rotor, which honestly I felt was the best rotor, and that's the rotor that I have in my BS dual on my MC1 Mini.
Wait, you have a torque rotor in your BS dual?
Yeah, dude. The stock rotor for a BS dual is a 12.3 rotor. Then you have the options for a 12.5 and a 13 millimeter rotor.
They used to sell like bigger ones than that too.
I mean, for when I bought them, 13 was the biggest.
Let me look it up. I thought there was one bigger than that, but maybe not.
And either way, Judd has the 13 mil rotor in his BS dual that I sold him.
Judd, if you're watching, I need that.
Like it packs a punch. It's really, really torquey, but not so much like
13.5 is the biggest one they make.
Yeah.
On their website right
so
now.
a little tech tip about the rotor sizes.
Yeah.
the larger the rotor size is going to hold a little bit more inertia. So, if you're wanting to have more of a coast value, you can actually go to a larger rotor, and it will kind of keep a little bit more, centrifugal inertia, but it's not going to hit as hard on the throttle off, like a zero throttle from brake. But that can just be a preference thing. So, smaller rotors can be real punchy, doesn't hold as much of its free spinning inertia.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that are going into like rotor length and diameter as well now. Like if you look at all the racing motors, like the much more what are their cheater motors called?
Fleta.
The Spectre. So Fleta Spectre.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Outlaw motors.
Yeah. So instead of going up in size in rotor, they actually went down. So the stock rotor of a Spectre motor is actually 12.3 millimeters, but it's a titanium shaft, and it's still like the magnetic field from the stator is like what's absolutely ridiculous about it, because like it's just motor for days.
Yeah, they got their DAW strength really high, and they did something. They changed some of the chemical, and chemistry makeup in the metals they use to hold that DAW strength under a really high temperature range. So the DAW strength doesn't start dropping off until about 240 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you get to like that zone, you let it cool down, it really doesn't lose any permanent DAW strength. So
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what we're actually talking about, there's a thing like if your your rotor is too strong, right, and you just need to like dumb it down, right? Typically you could say just like heat your motor up or like flame it with a torch or whatever, right? And that's going to bring your magnetivity, like the level of the magnet, down like a few steps. So that's one way to do it. Obviously it's not like the smart way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a $300 motor, you don't really want to put a torch to the rotor.
No.
Or heat it up like crazy. No.
And rotors are cheap enough where it's like, if you're to that point, I would say like if you are doing true rotor tuning, just buy the rotors, because like new rotors are only like $40 somewhere around there. Like don't risk it. Yeah, but yeah,
it's in the RDX. Chad, dang it, I need it. I'll trade your motors.
It's in the RDX now. I mean, so it's kind of like what you did, Jake, with your Yokomo motor, right? Because you had did you do the RPM can, and that's what shattered, or was it the torque can?
Yeah. So it was a 13.5 RPM, the titanium rotor, but the rotor broke, and so then I just put a standard torque rotor in it, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, so that is an amazing pair up, right? So
it's literally my favorite motor.
Yeah, so like what I did is I took the 10.5 Yokomo RPM motor because it felt like butt. Just not my tuning style, right? I needed a little bit more torquey of a motor, but the Yokomo torque motor was too much, right? So like way too much natural drag from the motor. So I swapped the rotors, and they kind of feel the same now, but the RPM can with the torque rotor feels a little bit like my Fledge with a level 45 rotor in it.
One question I have about the setup you guys are talking about. So the can with the original stator in it, when you turn the pinion shaft, the cogging there. So the stock, did the cogging for the rotor you were replacing in there feel about the same? Or was it noticeably different, like a longer cog distance in rotation? Was it, harder to turn, easier to turn?
So as far as that question goes, the cogging was the same distance in rotation because both of the stators have the same winding. It's just a different, like probably the thickness of the wire, right? That's causing the strength of the magnet. But yeah, like all that. there is very, very big differences between the cans, right? Just the stators. And that's why we can change rotors like that, right? So you put a different rotor in, it doesn't change the turn of your motor. It just changes, like, do you have more torque? Do you have more RPMs?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they with the magnetic field on the rotor has a measured value, and they make the windings inside the can to fit a range of that, field measurement.
Yep.
And so if you get too far out, you can actually cause it to disintegrate itself if you're way too far off in those measurements between the two parts. But it sounds like, it was within a, reasonable spec.
Well, I mean, all of these rotors that we're talking about are within, like, according to factory upgradable paths, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Factory options, upgrade options, yeah.
Except you can't just, like, readily buy Yokomo motors or Yokomo rotors.
They're hard to find, yeah.
Like, even direct from Japan, direct from Yokomo, like, it's not a thing.
I had to wait, since I broke my rotor, I had to wait like 3 months for RC Art to get them in stock again before I could get a new one.
RC Art.
Yeah, and they're like in Japan and can get stuff easily. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It blows my mind at how far, because it's like you think that we get deep into the tuning of just like suspension and like the overall tuning of the chassis, right? And then you reach a whole new level when you're just like into tuning motors and trying to figure that out as well. There's a lot to think about when you're actually trying to figure out what you want and what you like.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of aspects that you have to think about when you start, adding in electronic preferences to your setup.
Oh, yeah.
Jake, do you run bullets on yours? Of course he does, because I put them on there, and he ran Hobbywing to begin with.
Yeah. I don't run them anymore, dude. No more. Kenny knows why. He helped me freaking resolve that issue one time at Northwest.
Kenny,
yep. Fell out. You got an OMT, and so I ran over there with a zip tie real quick, buttoned it up, and got you back out there. I think it was the first time I actually talked to you.
Have you ever seen like one of those bullets or just even a solder joint melt from overcurrent? It's crazy.
When I pull 3,000 amps out of my helicopters, it melts solder joints really well.
Okay, that's fair. That's fine. That's cheating. Okay.
No, that's not good.
Yeah, no, those are fun times.
Chris and chat nerds, all you who like the tuning and tweaking of setups are nerds.
Yep,
that's
probably
right.
The biggest one.
But you know what? Also, yeah. Okay. I have a problem with the RDX.
What?
It's the fact that it's prohibiting people of actually wanting to tune their chassis.
Yeah.
That's been a big beef of mine on the RDX.
Sorry, I just realized that I didn't have my key light on.
The good thing about the RDX, though, is like you don't have to focus on tuning camber, caster, all that stuff. You can focus on spring tuning, shock angle, your electronics tuning, dial those in, and then start introducing adjustable turnbuckles and things like that. So that's what I've been doing with mine. I built a box stock, ran it, and then tuned the shocks, and now I just put front Rev D lower arms and toe blocks and all that on there, and I've been tuning that, adding more caster, and so we got a lot more stuff I'm going to add on to it. So
it'd be kind of cool if you as you went through that kind of when you first got the car, what your goal was with it, and then once you've done what you can with that chassis and you're going to the next step to add in the tunability, maybe kind of we could write up a little thing on there that when somebody's getting into it for the first time and they bought the RDX right out of the gate, you can kind of give them this, little footprint and say, okay, you can do all of this tuning with it, but steps at a time. When you first get it, you don't have to worry about it. Once you start understanding, you can move to the next thing. So it's not so much of a big task when they see, 300 different items they can adjust on the car.
Yeah.
And they have a direction to go.
Yeah, I mean, even the stoppers on the stock stoppers for the RDX are like the really thick ones that Ricky makes. I put the really skinny Yokomo stoppers on it to get a little bit more steering degrees, and it works great. But then it's like on bigger tracks, I need the larger diameter stoppers so I don't like over rotate as much. Swap those out. There's small tuning things that you can do, but there's a lot. So
Right.
You can still tinker with it, but it's just you're tinkering with easier things.
Now, don't get me wrong. I still like the RDX as a chassis that to start off with and just be really, really good, right? It's meant to do that. It's just right now I'm seeing too many people, and I mean for good reason, right? Because the car is just so good out of the gate, right? It's just like it's so good that they're prohibiting themselves for buying any upgradable parts or just wanting to try anything else.
Yeah, there's like probably like 3 parts I would upgrade right away, but otherwise it's like it's none of it's like, oh, you have to do it, but it's like why not, you know.
I mean, as far as like common traits of tuning for RDX right now, drilling pistons. If you don't have the correct weight oil, drilling pistons, and the shock spacer, honestly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. You can get the servo relocation, but at the same time, I haven't driven it with a servo relocation yet. So
yeah, I think Judd's here tomorrow, and I want to try it driving Judd's. So he just did that to his.
Cool.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at Guy's yesterday, and Guy is hanging his ESC, like he has high mount motor, and then where the fan mount goes off of the motor mount, he put a wrap up next plate on there and is hanging his ESC down in front of the motor off of that. It's the craziest setup, dude.
I mean, right?
Yeah, but the ESC is higher up and like hanging straight down.
Yeah, I can move it, but I know what you mean.
It's like coming off the top of the motor and then hanging down. So it's like a lot of high weight.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you put it in the right place, it makes your car a weapon.
Well, and that's a whole nother thing with the RDX is like you can do so many different electronic setups as far as, you know, rear motor, rear or high motor, rear ESC, high motor forward ESC, or low motor, right? You know, a variation of electronics is going to change, you know, setups is going to change how the car drives as well. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing that's cool about it. It's like you can tune other things that, you know, make a big difference, but you typically wouldn't tune. So
for me, as of now, I've come to love the ESC in the front of the motor.
Yeah. I've been switching a lot of my cars back to that. That's some like old school stuff when I first, 5 years ago, that thing. But and then I know Kenny did that on one, and yeah, it's good. It's a good feeling.
It's a lot more playful of a car.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure. There's kind of like a, you know, the ESC being in front of the motor like that kind of comes down to, you know, a geometry way of looking at, you know, the car. They talked to you about that a little bit, Jake. Like basically, you know, these cars are pendulums. When you look at it in a perception, your point of movement is between the wheels, right, the center of the bulkhead, and everything past that is just, I think it's called Bob's mass. So, you know, weight closer to the point of movement is going to interact with its momentum and inertia differently than weight out at the rear axle. Yeah. And so kind of grouping, you know, your electronics right at the axle as close as you can will give the car kind of just a really consistent, natural feel. And that's kind of what I've been trying to target with some of the stuff that I've been doing. So it's cool to see that the RDX, you know, is allowing that, and it's really, you know, showing that feel quite a bit.
Yep.
And it's easy to do with that car too.
I mean, like all the cars are capable of it nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. It's just getting to that point. Yeah. Like that's the whole game right now. Which is kind of like, which is why the whole beef of the RDX, right? Because it's like, it's so good, don't do anything with it, but don't be scared of trying things. Like, mess it up, honestly, and then keep on going from there.
Yeah, that's what I say. You know, it's like I found probably 6 or 8 awesome setups on my MC1, and I write them down and I go and change the car just to see, you know, if I can find something else, another combination, because it's not like you're breaking it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and you know, and that'll change day to day too, because a lot of it's kind of a mindset. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I just need a kind of really relaxed car, and other days I'm like, I need something spicy that's going to be wild, and then yeah, so I'm constantly same thing, playing with stuff, moving things around, adjusting things, because I know, oh, it could be a little bit better, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Charles in chat. What's your opinion on Overdose 2-stage springs and the 10 degree oiled? I'm guessing 10 weight oil.
Yeah.
I'm not rich enough to afford like a full set of Overdose 2-stage springs.
Those are like
I'm gonna try the springs.
Two separate springs, right?
Yeah, they're like $30 a pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear by
I
Red
am
Deer,
gonna try those to see how they work. So I can give the information. Probably have them in the next couple of weeks.
Oh shit.
Yeah, just something I want to try. Another option. So the 2-stage springs, and then they got a titanium spring kit. It's like $200 for 6 pairs, but it's just another thing to try. So
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not that rich, you guys. Like I may have a Yogi, but man, I'm not there. I'd rather go another set of Axons before I went like heavy into Overdose springs.
Yeah.
But the thing is, no matter how much you use those springs, you will get your money back out of them. They don't lose their value. Whatever you pay, you'll get back. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like I really don't have, the expendable cash for it, but it's like, I know that I can get the information that I want and get my money back.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
That's that's the good thing with Overdose is that you can always, recoup your money. Sometimes make money on it, because that stuff goes up in value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just stick with Rev D springs. I love them. They work great. Easy.
Yeah.
So what does Chris say?
Yeah, they are definitely good springs for sure.
Yeah.
Chris is saying, everyone who commits to the RDX, much like many buggy manufacturers, I bet the basic version, and then you'll see a factory team version where we'll see a fully tuned version of carbon fiber and aluminum bits and adjustment parts.
Yeah.
Kind of backwards. Well, no. I mean, actually, no, it is backwards, because if we look at the MRX was already full carbon and ready to go with aluminum, and then they came out with the S. Same thing with the FXX from MST. They came out with the VIP version first and then released the S version and the RMX.
Yeah. I think Rev D's doing it good. Like the RDX is basically a plastic MC1. I think the whole transmission is literally identical.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with Chris. I think eventually they're going to come out with a full carbon crazy option one. Potentially. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to figure out how they do that path, because an MC1. So okay, the route with an MC1, right? So it was a $380 conversion kit, $360. Yeah. $400 if you bought the colored one, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so there's that, but you already had to have a YD2 donor to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. But let's just say that you did everything separate. You bought all this parts separately. You're in that chassis over $1,000 easily.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like,
yeah,
just
for sure.
The sad truth of it. Just like the Final Form Shark. If you did everything separately, you're into that chassis just in conversion by itself, right? So the Shark conversion alone is $380. The Final Form conversion is like another $450 or something like that. So just in those parts by itself, you're in at $1,000. That's not any gears. That's not anything, like none of the turnbuckles or anything like that.
Judd's probably into his Final Form for like $3,000, knowing his route that he took.
Yep. Yeah, I've got quite a bit of Overdose parts on my MC1, and it's like the retail price is just crazy.
Chris, there's nothing being dissed here. The Shark is a great chassis. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's amazing, dude. It pisses me off because it's so freaking good, and I'm mad at myself that I like it because I hated it. I hated building it so much. Like I tried to sell it, and it just nobody wanted to buy it. I don't blame them. I'm kind of glad it didn't sell because I like it a lot now. But I'm like, man, It's frustrating because I don't even do anything, and it just drives amazing.
Well, it only interested you like to begin with when Razer Performance released the Megalodon, right? That's when you became interested.
Yeah, because I started looking into it more so, and I realized that it's literally everything will bolt onto any YD2 deck.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I hate the main deck. It's so ugly. It's just overcomplicated. Like it's just trash. And I'm the kind I will not buy a chassis unless I can drive one. There's a couple that I'll kind of give,
Travis.
Yeah, wrap up stuff. You kind of just have to take a shot at it. But so anyways, when I was at Super G though, I drove Joey's and Steve's Sharks, and they were just the best chassis I've ever driven them ever. And so I was like, well, I gotta get one, but hated how it looked. So yeah. But anyways, now with how I have it set up, it's amazing. It's so good. I drove it last night and I was literally like pulling away from all the Seattle guys. It was kind of gross.
So what bottom deck are you running on it then?
The Razer deck, the non-flexible one. Actually, the one it was Alex Burton's deck that I bought from him that he ran on his YD2 for a while.
Oh, so the SX3 deck, like the actual, yeah, because you had originally bought the Megalodon, didn't care for it.
No. Well, I didn't run it. I didn't want a flexible deck anymore because after my 926 one, I'm kind of getting away from that.
Mm-hmm. It's hilarious at how I've kind of flip-flopped. Like the only chassis that I love a flexible deck on is my RMXD, my original VIP deck. Yeah. And man, that thing drives so good. And it's hilarious because it has the most funny electronic setup too. Sure, it has a 550. Sure, it has a Yokomo SPO2. But it has the Hobbywing just stock ESC, the one that you can do boost and turbo on it.
Yeah. And
it has a 5-year-old Phantom Racing D4 motor. Like it is the most absurd thing as far as electronics go.
Yeah, when I first started getting into drifting for quite a while, I just ran one of the much more Fleta V2 ESCs that I had plugged in backwards 5 or 6 times, and a much more motor that I ran forever and just abused the hell out of, and it was really good. It just, it did its job. And, I had the boost and the turbo, I could set everything that I wanted in there, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the much more Fleta, it still gets a pass for me. Like there's nothing wrong with the ESC. It's just the motor. Give me a motor with less torque than their Spectre. Even their regular 13.5 or 10.5s, and that'd be a good drift motor from them.
Yeah. I think I ran a 6.5 for a while.
Mm-hmm. It's that good. much more it's Joe Pillars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Known Joe Pillars for years. He's a good dude.
Didn't he used to be the team manager for Yokomo?
Yep. Yeah, for Yokomo for a long time.
Yeah. So he started much more?
What's that?
He started much more?
I don't think he started it.
Okay.
I think he was instrumental in, their success.
Yeah.
And where they've gone. And then I think he's in that same stature with One Up Racing as well. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I thought too. I wasn't sure. So
yeah.
I just know that he whenever he came and did product refills at Northwest, he'd always have his signature on the 17.5 boxes.
Yep.
Chris is just a team manager.
Okay, so I want to pause because we're actually on a really good groove, but I want to pause and do calendar events and then do the normal things, right?
Yes.
Okay, so calendar events. Tandem Tuesdays are still a thing at PDX. So if you are in the town of PDX, where is it? It's in
Portland.
Beaverton.
Portland, but it's right on that border of Beaverton.
Yeah, that's subdivision.
Cool.
I need to go back to iFly because I still have a 10 flight thingy that I need to use up.
I thought you were going to say you have $10 available. That's not going to get you anything.
No, it's a 10 flight thing. But it's kind of lame because at 10 it says 10 flights, but it's only 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But it's still cool. If you haven't been to iFly, I highly recommend it just to try it. It's fun.
Go once.
It's someone that will hold on to your body so you don't go out of control.
Spin in circles.
Yep.
Go up and down.
Although, okay, if you go on a cruise with Royal Caribbean and the adventure class cruise ships, like the Adventure or the Odyssey or the Quantum, it's called Ripcord, and basically it's a free service on the cruise ship.
So you have to purchase the Ripcord package?
No, it's complimentary. It's you go and you just sign up and then you do it.
Okay, maybe my friends lied to me, because when we were on it, they said you had to pay for it.
I think that's when you're in port.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a thing. So is zip lines. I went on their Symphony of the Seas. They had the zip line there. Didn't do it. I did the slide. That was fun. Okay, so Tandem Tuesdays. PDX summer hours. Monday closed. Tuesday to Thursday 2 to 9. Fridays are 2 to midnight, and this is specific to drifting, you guys. Saturday they're closed. Sundays they're closed. Wait, something doesn't seem right about that. Well,
I wouldn't see that they're closed on Saturdays, but maybe I'm wrong.
No. Saturdays are open.
Yeah.
Are we sure about that now? Because I thought Saturdays was Andy's thing.
It's broken up Saturdays. It's not like every weekend.
Okay.
So it could be that the calendar's reflecting right now that it's closed. You know,
He usually just posts for the week, I think.
Closed Saturday in summer. Chris is saying. So is Austin. Cool. Okay, coming up tomorrow, because today is Saturday. Tomorrow is round 3 of the Oregon Drift Series. So show up, have fun. I've got. Oh, they're actually out of frame. Are they out?
They better be.
My head's blocking it.
Show the prizes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Honestly, if Judd wasn't showing up, that like Judd, Damien, and Elliot, if none of those guys showed up tomorrow, it completely like nullifies the prizes.
Yeah.
Which
I wasn't gonna come because I totally had forgot about it. Didn't see it pop up on my feed, but I've been, like I said before, I was really focusing on the drift tuning page, so haven't really been paying attention to much.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah. So the deal is that doors will open at 11. Same thing, right? We're going to have judges basically do the clipping points right at the beginning, so no one actually has any practice time.
I want to touch on that. We don't have to do it now, but I do want to touch on that at some point.
Gotcha. So the idea is tomorrow we're going to do qualifying. So we're going to check in, right? Check in with me. We're going to do qualifying. We're going to go right into tandem battles. No breaks, no nothing. If you get hungry or hangry, that's on you. So come prepared. Although at the same time, we should be done around like 1 or 2.
Yeah. It could go fast.
Mm-hmm. Same idea. DRCs are the spec tire. New tires are technically best. If you don't believe me, then that's on you. And DRCs also have a quick wear, like break-in time too. So there's nothing to really worry about that. Get in a few practice laps, do all that fun stuff. Nothing special about the rules. We're still following the same rule of 1,100 grams maximum over the rear axle. There's no max weight. There's no minimum weight. Just 1,100 grams over the rear axle. Any questions? Other announcements that I was told to bring up. Since Elliot isn't watching, he said that he was going to be, but yeah. And I quote, "It was 4th of July on the 4th a couple of days ago. And it was my birthday, as in Elliot's birthday, on the 27th. You could also mention this, so I'm mentioning it."
There you go, Elliot.
Yeah.
Too bad he's not watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite fishing.
Freaking loser.
Okay. We are going to talk about products that I saw come in. And let me see if I can do this eloquently. I'm just going to move everybody around. Okay. Jake, you're in the middle.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to pop open this link here. Open the link. Give me the link. And we're going to do a window capture of the Super G window. Okay. And we're going to move it behind everything. Okay. We're all going to look like, well, actually, I'll just look. Anyway.
I'm hating.
Okay. So you guys aren't going to be able to see this unless you're actually watching the stream separately. But
Yeah, I'm going on my phone.
what
Yep.
I found this past week is that AccuVans finally released their 13.5 in red and purple cans with no fan. Thank goodness, with no fan.
Yeah.
So that brings the price back down to $152.99. You still need to get the well, I don't know. Do you need the torque rotor for the 13.5? I got the torque rotor for the 15.5.
Hey, you never know.
Anyways, so yeah, purple and red available in fanless. They did offer it in with the fan, but that brought the price up to like $190. So there's that. Oh, the other thing that I found was this. The Wild Turbofan MILF. And yes, you can think of that what you wish. The 35 millimeter all metal fan.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this, you guys. Okay, so like it's a completely machined aluminum fan. It goes to high voltage, so 8.4 volts. But even the impeller, even the blades are aluminum. Any thoughts, feelings?
How much is this fan?
I don't know. But the first thing is that it's 35 millimeters. So that kind of puts a damper in most of our mounting situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a possibility of a lot of electrical noise from an aluminum fan.
Oh my God, dude, this is gonna be so loud.
Well, that and then, electrical noise going into your, your radio system.
Yep.
Possibly.
Well,
I
I
would
mean,
imagine they thought about that, but
even with like the fans that we have already that are plastic, right? Like some of those fans have the ability to just not run because they're too close to the motor.
yeah.
But let's see what this says. Where is what MILF stands for? Oh, okay. Shoot. Where is it? It's something really stupid. But I think it is Metallic Intelligence something luxury. Yeah,
Fan.
luxury fan. Sure. Let's see. Metallic features the first full metal cooling fan for the RC industry, meaning even the fan blade is made of metal, with each piece made by a 5-axial CNC machine with 30 minutes of process time. So that to me tells me that it's like gonna be a $50 fan.
Oh,
50,
easy.
60. Intelligent. This fan has two special features that uniquely belong to us. First is reverse polarity protection, and second is dead stop protection, which will prevent the fans to fail electronically even further. Prevent the fans to fail electronically even further. That's a weird sentence to me.
Yeah, Google Translate didn't do very good.
Bad translation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like the same, like kind of like a stop start feature on like computer fans, right? Like if you stop them completely, they just stop and then they'll start up again. Luxury, with both the blade and frame precisely CNC made with total processing time of 1 hour machine time. In addition, each CNC fan blade is precisely balanced. The fan blade itself is an art piece on its own. Nah.
Dude,
I think their biggest thing that they're trying to do with this is they're running a what is that, a serial encoder brushless motor in there.
Yeah.
And it's just got a sensor on the 360-degree rotation, so it's like, if it stops trying to do work.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of burning up.
See, fan 35. WTF, the Wild Turbofan brand of RC fans have been bringing many firsts to the RC industry. This fan is made to a 35mm custom size. The 35mm size is carefully selected as this is the diameter of most 540 sized motors, so this will give the best coverage of cooling air. Additionally, the counter-directional exit fins will provide an improved air pattern to help cool further.
Man, they spent a long time designing this fan. Wow, they're proud of it.
They're almost straight blades. Sorry.
If they went to tested it.
I'll pay $50 for a fan when it looks like a GE9X, high bypass, fan set. That's when I'll pay $50 for one.
I just buy the $12 Amazon ones, dude.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay, that was Product Watch. Do you guys have any products that you want to bring up? If you do, I will find it. If not, then we'll keep on rolling.
No,
I guess the Overdose Type 3 rear arms. So the reason I say that is you can set up trailing angle with those rear arms. I've been experimenting with that quite a bit lately. Have had a lot of success with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're expensive, but the benefit that I've gotten out of running the trailing angle setup seems pretty significant to me. So,
mm-hmm.
How much are those?
Are you sure
I
you
think
want
they're
to know?
$200.
Yeah. No, I think they're more than that. Hold on.
I'm just kind of curious to compare them to the wrap up one. So
wait. Are you looking at RC Mart pricing, or are you looking at somewhere else?
Super G is where I remember looking.
Super G has them. Well, pre-order. Yeah. Are they on pre-order, or are they actually?
No,
available?
I think they came off of it now, and they become available.
Okay. What is this? Overdose. I've been meaning to pick up some of those aluminum bearing carriers for the transmission, but I'm just too lazy.
Yeah, they're in stock, $200 on Super G right now, all colors.
Okay, so the Ryu thing, and Ryu's a team driver for Overdose. The last time that I saw the thing, it was or could be a Takahiro thing. Anyway, so what they were doing is you were essentially maxing out the toe on maxing out the toe in on your toe blocks as much as you could, and then just fixing it with these arms, or just if you have active toe, then fixing it with active toe. And I'm not sure exactly what that would do, other than it's moving your arms forward a little bit, and then you're correcting.
So the reason for it is your C block, your rear front suspension block, has a wider spacing than the D block, the rear suspension mount. And the reason for that is when you're cornering in a car that's hooked up, regular touring car, your roll is going to happen perpendicular to the rotation of your suspension mount. So basically, the suspension working at that perpendicular angle, the way it's designed to. When you slide, you're now taking the angle of chassis rotation, and you're taking that movement. So this is your suspension mount, your hinge pin, and it's now putting that movement crossways into the point of the suspension rotation. When you do that, you're creating bind. basically increasing the weight of your suspension. Your dampers, your springs, however you want to look at it, you are increasing one of those values. So adding the rear trailing angle, you're now taking and putting that hinge pin back into the perpendicular angle of rotation and movement of the car. It's only at a certain angle, but it makes a lot of difference. The car felt a lot more loose throughout the range of the slide.
So
that's what I like it.
You're talking kind of the same principle that the angle of a shock has, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. So the more you lean the rear shock, down, it's going to be traveling into the angle of movement.
Right. So with basically what I'm getting out of this is that without the trailing arm effect, right? It's just one straight movement, right? But with the trailing, you're no opposite, right? Because you're saying that you're taking away the progressive effect, right?
Yeah. So the neutral setup of your car goes away with just the regular style arms. And I've actually got, you can see, so if you look, this is the rear suspension, mount, and then the front you can see is at a wider angle. So doing that as the car, so when it corners normally, your weight is going to, transition here. Well, when you're out on a slide, your weight is going to try to transition here because of the way the car is at the angle going through that corner. So moving that hinge pin is actually changing the geometry of the suspension to stay in the preset, theory of the suspension. You're keeping that perpendicular angle to the suspension movement with the trailing angle setup.
Right. So in relation to the actual toe-in, though, because you're also readjusting the toe back to like something more standard, right?
Yeah. So two ways you can do that. These arms are the Type 1. You have to use the Overdose toe hubs. So I can adjust the toe on the hub itself. You can see that. So that was my solution that I had to do on this. With the Type 3 arms, there's enough adjustability that you can set your toe on the arm itself, or you can use these toe hubs, however you choose to do so.
See,
and you can get up to like 12 degrees of trailing angle on those Type 3 arms if you want.
So Yusakani did the same thing, or actually did it before Overdose did, with their it was when like the whole cantilever suspension arm like was a real big thing. You know what I'm talking about? So like with the hub carrier, and it had like the shock attachment like pivot with the actual the hub. So that was a real big thing. I could never get it to work right just because the geometry of the DP was not okay. It always felt stiff is what happened. So I just went back to straight arm, and that got taken. But it did have the adjustability of like actual adjusting toe if we wanted to do that. I forgot who I gave those to. I think I gave those to Alex. I do have a set of Wrap Up Next version 2 of those arms, but yeah.
I'd be curious to take a look at them.
I don't have the inserts is the thing. So that's where we would need to find. Deal. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have? Do we have anything else? We don't have anything else in terms of like product watches. Jake, anything from you?
No new products that I've noticed.
Okay. Okay, then we're gonna move on. Wow, we're having really good discussion on tuning. Well, I mean, just like random things about tuning, just as they come. You guys, if you are listening, go ahead and throw in your comments or like just your topics or your questions, and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. That goes for every single stream. And I guess since we're here, since I'm actually thinking of it, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that fun stuff that YouTubers do. Although I'm not really a YouTuber, I'm just here. Anyway.
So there was a question, since we're talking about tuning and all that, there was a question in chat by Charles Malk. asking about wheel choice if we use that for tuning.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely, I think we all do.
Yeah. So in relation to that, right? Because it's more about the flexibility of the wheel itself, right?
Yep.
Not just the tire, but the wheel. Because if you take like a standard MST wheel, it's stiffer than all snot, stiffer than anything else. It's not
Any
flexible.
Any chrome wheel, no good.
I mean, even they're just regular wheels, right? Like they're all stiff.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get like the Yokomo High Grip, the Rev D wheels, any of the like the Working Motion Kai wheels from Overdose,
Dude, those are crazy soft.
Yeah.
My God, those are softer than the freaking top line high tractions.
Yep.
Yeah, you can almost bend it completely in half.
Yeah, insane. Nick showed me those a couple weeks ago. Just
OG HPI RS4 Nitro wheels, those are super flexy too.
yeah.
The idea is here, basically the more flex that it has the ability to soak in those bumps and be able to form to your surface, right? Like you wouldn't think that it makes a difference, but it does. Like any small chance that you can gain grip with our cars, you want it. So because we're tuning for grip, we're not trying to tune out like a buggy, right? Because a buggy has all the grip in the world, right? So for a buggy concept, you're trying to maintain the balance of your ability to drive the car like pretty much wherever you need it to go, right Kenny?
Yeah, on carpet you got all the traction in the world, so it's a balance of keeping the car linear and avoiding the traction roll. So that's a big thing. Yep.
I drove everyone's B663 like when I was trying to decide on what buggy I was gonna get, and I settled on the 22 5.0.
Yeah, that was definitely a really good chassis. I've always been a Losi guy. Like when I raced before, Losi was definitely my jam, and they did a really good job with making that car good out of the box, but also allowing a wide tunability. I noticed that the stock setup out of the box, I wasn't fighting that horrible traction roll right off the bat. Like I noticed a lot of Associateds, they kept things pretty low, and then the gull wing style front arms, I think definitely really helped out to combat a lot of that traction roll.
Yep.
Judd says Lab TE37's where it's at, super high traction. But yeah, like
when I drove his car last night, it was good with those wheels.
That's good. It's just something that you don't think about until like you actually try it. Like it's not just hype. It is. I mean, it could be. It could be the placebo effect.
It's not. I mean, at the expo, Kenny, when you let me use those top line wheels, I immediately noticed a huge difference, and it just like blew me away.
Yeah, I could definitely tell. You would like, because I gave them to you and you went out to run it, and I was watching you as you were running, and like you put about 2 laps in, and I could see you just like your facial expression was like, holy crap, okay. And like you got done, you're like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, so to balance it out though, a high traction wheel isn't always the best option though. It's going to change for your surface and all that, and how your car is tuned. It's like there is also so much thing as too much grip in a drift car as well. So it's just, so I forget who asked that question, but just it's a balance if you're still watching.
Well, so Kenny and I were actually talking about it while you were off eating. How like tuning for grip and like you can tune your car to be like as fast as it can be, so you can always catch up, right?
Yeah,
that's cool. But then the flip side of following, right? Or
yeah.
No, yeah. It's where. And I was saying, like, this is how Elliot took me out, is because I couldn't be slow enough for his car.
To follow his line, because he's like this and you're like this, just driving into him, because you can't match the angle because you have too much grip and you just, that's a big problem.
And I didn't have enough RPM to, like, keep me kicked out.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things, tuning your car that's correct for the track, whether it's, tight and technical or loose and open is a big thing. But you also got to take into account if you're, trying to be running with everybody in a long train, you got to kind of tune your car for the middle of the road. Like, you watch for the fastest guy, you watch for the slowest guy, and you just kind of want to try to tune to have your car easily in that middle range, but it can handle being with the fastest guy, but also stay at angle with the slowest guy.
Mhm.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing that's hard with comps because you're going to go up against everybody, the fast guy, slow guy, whatever. And it's a challenge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, it's also the fact that like everyone is coming from everywhere. Like you don't like the surface is not going to be the same as your home track, right? Like for those of you that are going down to Super G like in October, it's a different game. 100%. It's going to be a different game. And the idea behind it, not of actual competition, but the way that they do the competition at Super G covers multiple days, right?
Yeah.
So it's more of the fact that you take your time and you figure out how to tune for that track, and then hopefully you got some either great tuning techniques or you have an inside scoop on like who's running, like has the knowledge for that track. From what I hear, the Japan P-Tile is supposed to be slicker than what they were even on before on their concrete.
Yeah, so we had a pretty big discussion about this last night with a couple different guys in Seattle about the P-Tile and all that stuff. And it's a lot slicker, but I don't know. Some people are excited, some people aren't, because it does seem it's easy to find grip on P-Tile though, but we'll see. Yeah. I don't know. But also it comes down to tire. They changed their tire up completely as well. So
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I can say to that, like, you're having a discussion of the surface, is that you can control a lot of variables with your own car. One thing you cannot control is the surface.
Mm-hmm.
With something you can't control shouldn't be something you worry about. And I try to, have that, aspect when I go to a new track. Is I go there, I don't care what the surface is. The surface is what the surface is going to be. Now, I know that. And so that's not going to be something I'm going to cloud, getting my setup right with, or, getting myself into the mode of driving and being competitive. And get to the track, look at the surface. Okay, that's what it is. Now I'm going to look at the drivers. I'm going to kind of see what they're doing, see how the cars are driving. Then I'm going to take a walk through the pits. I may not talk to anybody. I'm just going to kind of take a glance at the cars, see how people are interacting with their cars. Maybe try to look at a couple, setup things just to kind of get an idea of it, because that's going to help me to get in the right mindset to have my car and myself right for that track. So just not really worrying about those surfaces is kind of really beneficial to having the most success. So it's out of your control.
Yeah, pairing that with driving multiple surfaces constantly, and always having to make those changes to your car to figure out, okay, how do I speed it up or slow it down? Kind of gives you an advantage. So, yeah,
for sure.
And driving, like the Seattle guys, they drive outside year round. Doesn't matter if it's 5 degrees outside. They're driving. They drive 3 times a week outside in different spots, and so cold concrete is insane, and versus warm concrete and damp concrete. They were telling me when it rains really hard, it obviously absorbs the water and it creates a little bit of moisture, and that's their cars are the fastest they've ever been when there's just when it's raining outside.
Dirty too.
Wait, isn't that when we're supposed to be worried about driving real cars just as it rains?
Fight Club guys, man, they go hard, and I love driving with them because they're all so good and they're so fast, and it's just like they have so much knowledge. So it's a blast. But, yeah, it's just good having that extra bit and extra knowledge to be able to adjust to the surface.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the last things that I'll say about that is certain individuals will have a couple tuning options on their car that's really their go-to, that makes the most difference for their driving style.
Yep.
And I see a lot of people when they go to a new track, they forget that tuning option on your car is still going to have the same level of result for you because it's what you know, regardless of what surface you're on. So keeping what you know and adjusting it when you're on another surface, just do your same routine. Don't get overwhelmed. So what if you're in a different place? Just do what you know.
Brandon, what's up?
Brandon's in.
But 100%, like if you go to Expo, right? The common tuning tip that like you'll hear from anybody, right? Go run 6 degrees of camber on your rear. That's like almost everybody, right? Or at least that's what it was 2 years ago. I wasn't at the last Expo. Was it?
Yeah.
No, it was only like a half a year ago because they were catching up.
It was a weird one. I don't remember. I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What, in Monroe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like basically getting out of COVID, there was 2 expos that were literally like 6 months apart.
Yeah. We got lucky that year. It was dope. And we had 2 tracks at the one. It was sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we scored.
Chris.
Yeah, I actually remember it was -6 rear camber and 0 front toe, and that was like you're good, and then just kind of fine tune other things from there. But that was the starting point.
See, Chris, I feel like setup is all subjective, and I'm realizing that setup sheets are useless because everyone drives differently. Driving styles are greater than car setup. Yes and no. The thing about setup sheets is that you have to follow them exactly, and you have to match that driver's personality, like their style too. So yeah, driving style is definitely greater than just overall car setup, but car setup is still equally just as important. Like, you can't just go out there and drive, right?
Yeah,
it's true. I would disagree with you a little bit on that, Adam. Setup sheets I find are amazingly valuable because when you start getting to the point where you understand the setup, if you look at a setup sheet, you can kind of be like, okay, yeah, I know what that guy was trying to tackle. And a lot of times there'll be 3 levels to it. You'll have, the front end of the car, you have your center of the car, kind of the weight distribution, and you have your rear end. So if you look at your car and you're like, okay, well, the front of my car is fine, weight distribution's but my rear end's really bad. Maybe I'm just going to make a really heavy change to what he had because I look at the surface, the speed, and the flow reported on the setup sheet, and just change my rear end to that, and just try it. Like, okay, I'm having a hard time tackling this, but he found something. What is it? Let me try it.
Right.
Throw it in there.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're bad. But just like take it with a grain of salt, right? Take everything with a grain of salt because it could work. Yeah, it could work. It could just totally bomb. Or like it could be as simple as you don't have the inside scoop or the prototype part that they're testing at the time, right? That is a very real thing in like today's buggy world, especially in drag racing. Like literally if you didn't have an R1 ESC and like the secret tune or like just like the team tune that they were using on theirs, then like you're not going to be competitive. Which I hate about the competitive world. Like luckily in drift you don't actually have to do that. Like you can driver mod the crap out of everything and still be okay.
And I've noticed there's a huge lack of setup sheets around for any of the cars, and I kind of want to change that. That's part of the reason why I started the drift tuning group is that I want to bring the information, the explanations of each setup, item, shock tower on the rear, the top or the bottom hole. Like, I want that information to be there because I was looking for that information when I started and it wasn't there. And it frustrated me. So it's like, now that I'm learning, the stuff and can explain what it does, like I want to put that out there. And then also have a place where people can put their setup. When I try to, import setup sheet, you can edit. So you can go in there and throw a setup sheet for RDX or MC1 or whatever you have.
So have you heard of the application called So Dialed?
Yeah, I've tried to use it. It's kind of buggy, but I'm working through it to try to figure it out.
Yes. They have a lot of good stuff now.
So they have MD1, and I believe they have SD1 on there too.
Yeah. I was looking at Jacob Parker shared his whole setup to the MD1 Facebook group the other day on that, and I was kind of thumbing through it because I have I just got Damien's chassis today, so when messing with that. But even I was just messaging Timmer earlier about his setup on his, and it's just like looking, or, talking to him and then looking at what this is set up. I'm like, yeah, there's no one.
Yeah.
Just when you're trying to tune with it, just make sure that you're thinking outside the box, because since it's not like standard toe blocks, right?
Yeah.
So
it's not even, I'm not adjusting toe or anything like that. It's just like caster and a couple really small things like
right. So instead of thinking it like just change a spacer, it's more of like move the front or the rear like sliders in or out.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
This thing's got a crap ton of freaking Pro Squad on it too.
Yeah, that's a hot boy setup. Like that setup works
a lot.
I'm running 4 degrees of Pro Squad on my MT1 now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I mean, it's just angled huge.
Yeah. I usually run like 3 to 4 mil spacers. On my Shark, I run, I think 1, if that. You can't get much on a Shark.
You're limited by the transmission.
Well, wait, did you not flip your front?
No, because I'm running TK block.
So run the TK block in the rear.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I just haven't done it yet. It's really good, so I'm like, I'm just not doing it. I don't even need any more. I don't need more speed. That thing is good as it is. So.
I wouldn't call Pro Squat like a definite speed gain. It's definitely, it's a more soft feeling, if anything else, right? It makes your car feel a little bit more planted in and out of the corners.
It allows for more weight transfer to move around for what the car's wanting to do forward and back. And I've increased it a lot more as the track has gotten really tight and technical at PDX, because you really kind of need that weight to shift a lot for the track in my preference in driving. So I've added a lot of Pro Squat and a lot of kick up. That way I can get the weight to the front or to the back as I need it.
So wait. PDX is tight and technical.
Yeah, there's a new track layout in there that seems pretty tight now.
Just wait until tomorrow.
That track.
Make it as challenging as you possibly can. I'm all game.
So I mean, should I give them a little hint or like?
Nah.
Anybody that's listening? No.
Nah.
Okay. All right.
But I gotta be in the dark about the track down there.
Okay.
I was just gonna say the lane width. That was all I was gonna say.
Okay, fine. Go for it.
The spot. So we made it's a huge track now. A lot of corners. I don't even know how many. We didn't count the turns, but there's a bunch. So we split it up into 2 sections. So we're gonna run 1 section tomorrow for the round 3, and then round 4 we're gonna run the back half. So we don't have to do track changes as much. But in doing that, we had to enable to fit so many corners in the space. We had to make the lanes on the dot 36 inches.
Yeah.
So,
and is that like a scale, size for this? Yeah, that's cool.
I would say it's maybe a little tighter than I would probably want to do, but it had to be done for the space and what we wanted to do. And it works.
Yeah.
It works really well. It's fast. It flows great. Like it's going to be a really fun competition.
Yeah, and I like that, being, technical like that. It's like you have to be a lot more deliberate with it, have more focus, and just, being, on top of your car is, great. I like that. So that's exciting that it's like that.
Chris, so it's like a drifting park and real cars.
Yeah.
No,
kind of.
No. So
Park is tight. It's a go-kart track.
Park is tight, but it has a lot more going on than just like going around a corner, right? Because corners 2, no, not corner 2, but corners 3 going around the backside. Yeah. It's like you got to figure out how to take that corner or just like drive it straight.
It's a weird, you kind of got to like a quick manji and then back into it. But anyway, so. Like it's not a difficult, or the new track isn't difficult. I don't know if I would even say it's like technical, maybe a little, but
it's a lot of hairpins.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. But it flows. It flows really good. If you run the correct line, it flows so smooth and so nice. So
Spirit
Right
is
on.
much wider. Yeah, Spirit isn't Spirit
it's a
just like an
big lot.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Oh
Oh
man.
man. Okay.
So, okay, hang on. So while we're touching about the comp and the new track layout and all that, so we talked about zones that are obviously not put down yet. They're going to get put down tomorrow. So I don't know if we want to discuss this now or we can discuss it with the judges tomorrow. But I was talking to the Seattle guys, and how they do theirs is they'll let people run the track right when they get their practice, and then they pull everyone off, put the zones down, and then do qualifying.
I like that. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So it's just a consensus of where everyone is going. Is that what it
Kind
is?
of. It's a little bit of that, but it's also just like, they can move the zones, they can put them wherever they want, and it's just keeping people on their toes and making them adapt like last minute. It's just trying to like push the drivers to just always be able to adapt to the next thing.
It puts everybody on the same playing field. Like you got one guy that just always seems to have that lucky nail set up, and he spins every second on that track because he doesn't have to worry about his setup, and so he's going to have a lot more advantage, getting into competition versus somebody that needs to tune a little bit to get their car right, instead of being like that. Which, granted, everybody can get their car to that point, but not everybody does. So it can take away, a little bit of the, irritation that somebody might have towards it, and keep everybody on that same playing field. That you all got the same amount of time on the track. You all have the same, level of opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's good. I'd like to see that.
We'll talk to the judges tomorrow and figure out what we want to do. So it doesn't matter to me, but I just thought that was pretty interesting and I liked it. So
Yeah.
Sam, hope you guys hope you guys
Drama-free day.
all have a fun drama-free day.
Jeez, Adam.
Day. Wow. Yeah, that didn't come out right at all, man.
Track rats who live there versus those who just come on comp days.
Yeah.
Wait, are we
Track
talking
rats.
about Judd? What? No.
Yeah, sure.
So Brandon has a perfect comment, and it's just basically saying that forces you to explore all possible lines on the track. So as you're driving before the zones are, you need to be driving all, outside, inside, middle, like everywhere, and just figuring out everything, what flows, and then when the zones go in, you already know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've already run that line, so we're good.
So the tip that Matt Timmer gave was basically, if you can run outside on everywhere of the track, then you know that you can do whatever that's thrown out to you.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
And
that's
him and Groggy were outside a lot, and that's how I was driving with Matt a lot. And Groggy's hard to follow, man. But Matt is really fun and really easy to follow, and it's just he runs good lines.
wait, why is Groggy hard to follow?
Because he'll like go and then just like snap like 90 degrees and just like walk out of your life. I'm like, dude, how like you're crabbing out of here? I'm like, but it's not. He's not even crabbing. He's still like drifting in like forward momentum, and it's just crazy. And it's just like, God damn it. And it's just such a fat, like you're driving straight and all of a sudden it's like in angle. Like how?
For those of you who don't know, Groggy, he is literally like, if you talk to him in person, he will give you the full in-depth answer, and it'll just go over your head.
Yeah.
And
you'll get like 3% of the whole conversation. You're just like, what happened?
Yep. And it's like, the first time I experienced Groggy is like Joe Sardina basically handing Groggy his Yusukani chassis, and it's like you see him do the okay, you got something going on here. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, he is. He's definitely more nerd than I am, but he can back it up with driving.
Dude, okay. So Momo, Mark Panic, and how just detailed oriented he is and how much knowledge he has. Groggy's like that with RC cars, man. This guy just spent years knowing or figuring out what every little thing does, and I mean, he can back it up. He drives really well, and it's just crazy. But he's not just you need to do this, and this. It's you need to do this with a 20-page technical guide. Yeah, he tells you why, and yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, I like explanations like that. It's like
He's a good resource. He's a good resource. And if you pay him, he'll just tune your chassis for you, and it'll drive absolutely amazing. So
yeah,
there's that. He offers that as well. He's not going to give you. He's not going to give you all of the advice. He'll give you some, like, hey, I'm struggling with this, whatever. He'll kind of help you out a little bit. But if you want it to drive good, then just pay him, give him your chassis, he'll fix it for you.
Great.
Yeah,
but he's definitely wanting you to understand why, the why behind everything. Because if you don't, then he will tell you about it.
I could totally relate to that. Like, it's, you really have to understand, why, these suggestions are being, presented to you, and, the methods behind it. So I think that's pretty cool. You need all the information you can get.
Yeah. Sam Groggy does have an RDX, and he's done not much, a couple small things, but he loves it. So,
which says absolutely, like, it blows the water out. Like, it says so much about that chassis if he's not doing that much to it.
I think he really just said about like shock tuning, making sure, everything is smooth, shafts are polished, and all, just typical small things. So,
Brandon is Groggy who gave you your ESC tune. Because Brandon runs like super high, like.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's crazy. Like, I didn't think you could get like the rev limiting sound from an AccuVan CSC. Oh my gosh, it is so sky high of a rocket tune.
Amazing, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, Sam, you can drive tomorrow too.
Rob Nick. That's a Rob Nick tune, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I definitely got my my AccuVance and Overdose setup cranked pretty good. I like hearing that big old, high speed top end whine out of it.
Well, I mean,
I'm curious on this one. How much boost and turbo timing do you run, and when do you have them come on?
I don't remember like when they come in, but I'm at minimum like 32 degrees on boost and turbo, with about 45 degrees on the can timing. But it seems to work. And those numbers aren't because I want, a specific feel out of it. It's there, but I mainly tuned it like that, for the noise. But, my setup runs very cool, but, I try to gear it so it's not having to put a lot of work in.
Yep.
Speaking of work, my 15.5 has 50 degrees of timing on it, on the can. It's running a 69 tooth spur with like a 20 tooth pinion on it. The FTR is still relatively like decent. It's at like an 8 or 7 or 8. It's low. What?
Yeah. I was gonna ask Kenny, do you pay attention to final drive ratio on when you're changing gearing or anything like that, or you just kind of go?
No, it's really by feel. Final drive ratio is. I never really found targeting a number has been beneficial for me. So I couldn't even tell you what it is on this, but my gearing's 90-26.
Okay.
On an MC1.
I typically, when I play with gearing, and I just kind of go by feel, but I always make a mental note of what the number is, just so I have something to go back on and be like, okay, yeah, I remember that. I like that rough number.
Yeah, for sure.
You're at 9, Kenny.
9. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, like
you can do it on your 10PX, Kenny. It's really easy.
Yeah, I got the 4PX, but I think I can still do it.
I thought you got the 10 finally.
Nope. Some unfortunate things happened, and I didn't end up getting the radio.
Bummer. Oh well.
Yeah, but to be honest, like even if I had got that radio, I would not have kept it because I like my 4PXR. It's so nice.
I remember we talking about just selling it anyway. So
yeah, that radio is so cool.
But Super G just released their silicon cover, like the sneak peeks for the 10PX.
Yeah, well, the silicon cover, man, it'll cover up all the chrome that's on my radio.
Yeah,
it's flashy.
Brandon, 8 to 10 8 to 10 FDR is a good range for most tracks.
Yep, I agree.
Cool.
It's a driving style thing too, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, yep.
Because like I drive, like depending on my car, I'll drive pretty gingerly, like in terms of in and out of corners, but when I need to, I can like really get into like turbo range and just romp on the car like everywhere. And then like if you watch Jake drive, it's kind of like low mid throttle just everywhere.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, Jake, your car spools very, very quickly, off the start. And say you can hear that power just comes right on as soon as you ask for it. And then like driving your cars, Adam, really kind of is more of like my preference. You've got really good power there, but it's controllable over a very large, range.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, while we're talking about it, actually, this is a great time to bring up like why we drive a 13.5 versus a 10.5 or a 15.5 versus a 10.5, right? It comes down to your trigger finger, really.
Yeah.
Like if you need a bigger window, if you need more trigger pull, then drive that higher turn motor, right? Like it just gives you so much more resolution to be able to be in that sweet spot of the motor. Like a 10.5 boosted at like a total of 60 degrees, like all of it, right? You're in like within the 10% range right at the beginning of your throttle, like for where your car is going to pick up traction. Like,
yep.
So you've got to be on it. And like, if you like that little minimal feel, going back to helicopters and drones, right? Like that's where I got my finite skills from in terms of throttle control.
Yeah. You got, just a little gets a lot, and you have, very good control over that off center. I call it off center.
Mm-hmm.
So my car's, set up, incredibly powerful, very little range, but I don't have the video gamer thumbs. So
right.
It's, that's kind of where I think a lot of it comes from, is how, you use your radio and your car.
Yeah. Speaking of ESC tunes for Super G, I almost bet you that there's going to be a lot of, well, I don't know, because it can go either way. I would feel that like the boost in the turbo would get cut down by quite a bit, just to give you a little bit more usable wheel speed like in the startup, but I don't know.
Yeah,
because it's more than just wheel speed, right? It's how fast your motor can torque over, and how fast not how fast, but how your car uses that torque, and how it squats, and how it like actually gets mechanical traction. Like it's not just like I need to go more fast wheel speed. Not at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about, Kenny, do you have a CLSD yet?
No, I want one.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about CLSDs for a little bit.
Wait, I do have some experience with the X-Ray active diffs for off-road racing, so
cool.
I do know how they function and their rates, so I'm all for it.
Cool. Well, I mean, I guess I guess it's more specific to the Rhino LSD than anything else. Although, Jake, you sold the SX3 to someone that had the X-ray diff in it, right? Or do you still have it?
No, I kept that diff. Not getting rid of it.
That is the most expensive diff I have ever put together. My gosh.
Not staying around here.
It was like a $90 diff, and then for the friction pressure plates that I wanted, those by itself are like another $60. So it's
X-ray is definitely the most expensive for sedans and off-road racing, but their stuff is quality.
Comparatively though, as far as like the weight difference, I guess Rhino has their plastic counterpart now. Like the casing of the diff itself, you can get all plastic.
The lightweight version.
Which I'm actually running in my Shark right now. Just the gear of it, not the end caps, not the covers.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Don't like his. How did you have it set up, Charles? What was your gearing and spring combo? Oh, yeah. Anyways, yeah, go ahead, Adam.
CLSD don't like. Lost a lot of speed corner. It depends, right? Because since you're trying to use something that varies while you're driving it, right? You got to figure out where and when everything is happening, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Like when I switched to what is it? 4-gear or four spring, 8 gears with soft springs. Man, my car felt like really weird because like it was engaging really, really fast. And essentially like I couldn't predict what my car was going to do just because I was too heavy on the throttle. So that's when I switched it out to like being more open, right? So 4-gear and then hard springs. So that's going to be your most open combination. Mainly because like I think when I would rather have it, it would be more up into that RPM range. But at the same time, I switched it up just recently and now it's feeling good because I'm not like romping on it as much as I used to be. So
what are you running now?
So in the Shark, I'm running 8-gear and I'm running hard springs.
I think I'm running that in one of my cars. I don't remember which one though.
Mm-hmm.
My Shark is 4-gear hard springs now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so Kenny, like to make it relative to you, like if you were tuning the X-ray diff for a drift car, would you tend to run it more open or would you tend to have it lock up sooner in your RPM?
It's kind of hard to say without, really trying it in the drift car. The way I attacked it with off-road racing is I wanted it to lock up about in the last, quarter of the RPM range. So, really getting, on the throttle when I need to square the car up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I charge a corner really hard, get it to lock up to kind of settle the car. And then as I got off the brakes, I want it to open up so I can get that coast through the corner. And just as I get, through the apex and I start ramping back up on the throttle, I want it to lock up right away to mechanically help square the car. So I'd probably try to target that same thing, but maybe my estimate is I would probably have it, lock up quite late to just help the car to be a little bit more mechanically stable on exit for a drift car. So probably not do anything in corner entry, mid corner. It would be all on exit is the way I would try to set it up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is kind of interesting. I almost feel that it's like almost backwards when we're talking about RC drift car, right? Because if you have a spool diff or just like a solid axle in the rear, your car tends to be more aggressive just to begin with because it's locked, right? Whereas the moment that you open up the diff or like loosening up your diff, for me, I gained a little bit more like corner stability. I wouldn't necessarily say like a lot of extra speed that came from it, but it seems like in and out of the corner helped me with an open diff, which if you drive like the Galm, right? If you drive a Galm completely stock, if you drive an RDX completely stock, right? Both of those come with solid diffs to begin with. I know RDX is great, like just out of the box. I actually don't know what stock Galm feels like because I instantly put the ball diff in it.
Yeah, so the stock Galm, I could explain it as extremely hyper off center, completely stock because they don't have toe. It's the 0 degrees toe on the rear, so it's just the rear end's really all over the place. It was stock. It was a very fast car. It wanted to enter, but it was kind of unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of one of the things that I didn't like at first, but I learned to use it, to my advantage. I started adding toe. I actually had to go about to 3 degrees of rear toe to kind of get rid of that, excited feeling off center. Mm-hmm. So it was, more predictable and easier to drive.
Mm-hmm. So that is interesting because I actually just moved both my Yogi and my Shark back to 0 toe. Mm-hmm. And that's been fun. For the past today.
Yeah.
Hours.
So on my MC1 right now, I've got 2.5 degrees of toe, and with the way you guys are talking about the Albany track, I've already kind of have an idea that I'm going to decrease the amount of rear toe to waken up the rear end of the car.
Dude, Neil's car was doing weird things because of the amount of toe that it had on it. Like, he had a Rev D servo with our Revox, the Rev D gyro.
He's running an SPO2 servo.
No, it was Rev D servo.
Did he switch it out then?
I don't know, but he said Rev D servo.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so like just driving the lane that's closest to us, he was getting like wheel wobble. Just from
driving straight.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the weirdest thing, but he took the toe out and it seemed to ease and make it better.
Yeah, he was there today, right?
Yeah.
He mentioned he was going to go and try and get some testing in. So.
Yep.
Nice.
So to put this into perspective, the question in Discord, I think it came from Ron, FPV Ron. Or is it? Or
I need to get
Ron
into
Legend.
this Discord. I'm still not in there yet.
Hold on. Let me
Uno momento.
yeah.
I did share some pictures of my RDX in there because we're talking about RDX layouts and electronics. I don't know. So
It's just an RDX. It's all the same. No,
we'll just how mine's like everything's in the middle.
Okay.
My capacity is completely full.
But riddle me this, because the AccuVance ESC is literally the heaviest ESC on the market.
Do you weigh them?
No, you can just feel it in your hand. Like, it's an all aluminum case.
Yeah.
Like, compared to the Hobbywing XR10 Pro, compared to the Hobbywing like drift spec ESC, right? Like, both of those ESCs are really, really light. And then even compared to like, I don't know, I guess the much more Fleta would kind of like be on par with the weight. But
Yeah,
like,
I think they're virtually the same footprint, the AccuVance and Fleta.
mm-hmm. And then you add on the fan. It's like it all adds up. With the capacitor.
Mm-hmm.
It all adds up. So I'm pretty sure that our AccuVance ESCs are doing a lot as far as like our high CG things that we're doing today.
Yeah.
Judd, mine and Jake's RDX are complete opposite.
100%. He has everything on the back of the car, and I have like everything like in the middle.
See, if this were me, I would probably just leave everything in the middle because it's already a really rear biased car to begin with, right? Like, even with the weight being so over the axle, it's still backward. Like, we're literally on MD1 terms. Like with what Judd's setup is. Oh, I didn't paste it. Or did I? No, I did paste it. The link in the Discord is there for you, Kenny.
It's in the comments on the live chat.
Yeah, it's on live chat.
Okay. Yeah, my phone just died, so I'll have to get it in a little bit.
Okay, so back to the CLSD thing. Essentially, the fastest locking setup is going to be 8 gears, 8 soft springs. The slowest to lock up is going to be 4 gears, 4 hard springs. And it's all because of the amount of centrifugal force that those gears are getting when they're being pushed out and locking. So, yeah.
So here's a crazy one. Bart is running freaking 4 gears, 2 hard springs, 2 soft springs.
He's kind of getting like a middle of the road ratio is what he's trying to target, I would assume.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of tuning, and that's what he came up with. He liked that the best. So
yeah.
So would it average, or would it be like a dual stage turbo thing?
I think it might average.
Yeah, I either way, I don't know. Could be both. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just
there is a ramp, value that, the soft versus the hard is going to be. So it's going to cover this ratio. And as it gets towards the end of its ratio, it's going to, go into the next one. So I think it could probably have a pretty progressive feel.
Max in chat, speaking of CLSD, Super D released an adapter piece to put in RMX. That's cool. That'll be a game changer for the RMX.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it just the fact that it needed to be more skinny? I don't recall, because I think the overall, like, the number of teeth is the same. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
because
I
I haven't seen it. I didn't see it. If you have a link, post it. Let's see, Brandon at Sam. True, but it was interesting to see the Concrete Super G tune that they had on their out of the box CSCs. The bass tune also helps people new to the track with, and there's a heart in the way, and it won't go away with general settings. So the funny thing is that like Phil went down there 2 years ago, right, for Proland by the Fire.
Yeah.
And the comment that he said basically just means that, or to me, how I understood it is that it's the out of the box tune just so that they can like have a little bit of free time and like not have so many questions asked to them, which is great because they're already busy as is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. As a track owner, you need something like that to just be like, yeah, here, just start with this and kind of play with it.
Yep. It's like
Otherwise,
just stop.
yeah, just constantly running around helping people. Oh, do this, do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, Kenny.
Yes.
So I know you've been bringing up your tuning page.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your tuning page.
Well, it's a RC drift chassis tuning page. Probably got the name wrong, but you guys get the idea. So, like I kind of mentioned, there was kind of a lack of, explanations on, the setup of cars, and, setup sheets. So I started it, as just kind of an open forum, free for all. If you have something you found about setup, please post. Put your information in there. It's totally welcome. And what I've tried to, get across is, the information that I put out there is what I found that has worked for me. I try to put, some evidence behind it, but at the end of the day, a lot of it becomes, down to preference. So it's not like, I said it's this way and that's the only way it's going to be. No, I'm not trying to do that. Is, take the information, use it to, your advantage. If it needs to be a little bit different, great. So that being said, I'm trying to provide information that I found that's worked for me. I'm also trying to pull information that I found from other websites. And when I do that, I will, provide the source. But again, please post. If you find something that's working really good, or you have a question, or, you want to share some of your setup ideas, great. The more information we can put in there from everybody, I think it's going to help the newcomer to be a little bit more comfortable, trying to get that information or asking that question.
Are you able to create like kind of sub pages within that Facebook group?
I think so. I'm going to start diving into it a little bit more. I've been trying to get some information on it, so it's not just kind of blank, but I'm going to try. If anybody has any ideas of how I can make more subcategories that I can put information in, I'd appreciate the input.
But so the reason why I bring it up is that it sounds like for easy sorting,
Yes.
like just start like a chassis specific tab or a chassis specific page within the group, because then two things: we'll know which chassis is popular.
Yeah.
And then we'll also be able to search the actual Facebook's postings a lot easier instead of like scrolling through miles and miles of different posts.
Yeah, if you can do that, that'd be rad, because then I'll just go through all of my chassis and take photos of just kind of, basic specs, camber caster, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And add it to each individual one. That way people have a kind of a base.
And also, I don't mind if, like you or anybody, if they, have the information, if you want to just send it to me on Messenger, I'm more than happy to put it up onto the page if you don't, can't take the time to do that.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely, put on there provided by whoever. So
Yep.
I'll definitely start doing that, doing like MC1, RDX, Shark, Final Form, all that stuff. I'll try to start bringing those chassis into it and having the information specific for it.
Yep. I like it. I like the the idea of it having a platform for people to go and find knowledge for tuning,
Yeah, So Dialed, and then Site Petite. They were great for the off-road stuff. But it didn't have the directed, this is a drift car. This is an explanation for the drift car. And, like, for me, I'm just like, my OCD is so high. It's like, if it's not like this is a drift specific thing, it's like, I'm going to read the information, but I'm going to kind of just take it with a grain of salt. So I think having some, this is drift information can be beneficial for our hobby.
Oh, 100%. Like the whole idea of you having to watch, well, and this is why the AccuVance Futaba video came about, right? Because every single video, there might have been one or two other videos about how to set up the AccuVance stuff with Futaba.
Yeah.
Everything else is in Japan.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, if you don't follow Ken Pro's channel, if you don't follow DOS Vlog or any of that stuff, right? It's like, you get so much from just being able to watch it, but at the same time, the whole language barrier is another thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what's happening here, is that it's going to be language that you can translate.
Right.
Not necessarily like nerd talk, because we did do a lot more nerd talk than we typically do, like on this stream, but talk in a way that it's going to be relatable to you and be able to, like, how you can interpret it in a way that is best for you.
Yeah. And a little bit of information I have put on there, I've tried to, keep it, easy to understand. But, trying to, have the formal, way of explaining it. So it's like, you can relate it to, like schooling, geometry. These are totally based upon geometry, in my opinion. Having that mindset of, trying to attack the setup in a geometric, way has really advanced my ability to tune these things. It's been like over the last 3 weeks that I've noticed a huge difference in my ability to tune it correctly. And then understanding immediately when I've made a setting change has really helped me. So I'm trying to, like, get that across, just to put that out there so people can, give it a shot, instead of it being so daunting, all these, things, don't look at all these things. Try to look at it in a different perspective.
But it's still all the things.
Yes. Yeah. But, having that perspective, just one thing at a time, seems a lot easier.
No, for sure. Okay. Things that I want to touch base on really, really quick before we end tonight's stream. One, well, actually, this is really all that it is. Would you be interested in an outdoor competition?
Yeah.
Because we've been fiddling around with the idea for so long that I would love it. I have a chassis that's not legal but can be used for it.
Well, it's not anything like, any chassis can be used for it. Why not?
So it's gonna be my Mini.
Yeah, down.
Yeah. I think it'll be great.
My wrap up next high center of gravity Mini.
Hey, this is now street rules, dude. Anything goes.
No prep.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna blow off that surface.
yeah. We're just gonna clean it and run it. But no, yeah, we've been wanting to do this for a while, Kenny. And the reason we can't hear Adam brings it up is I want to know, because I need to buy a bunch of tires for it. So, and they're coming from China, so who knows how long that's going to take,
Ally Express to be exact.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I figure people just put a bunch of duct tape on the bottom of their chassis so they don't scratch it up,
I mean,
PDX has got, really inexpensive chassis protectors, just a generic one.
Yep.
So you just, throw a sticker on there, trace it out, and you're done. You can, keep your car in really good shape. So you don't have to worry about banging it up with the little pebbles and whatnot.
Unless you're Jake and flipped his toe block, so the rear is just like.
I'll scratch it. I don't care. Whatever.
I mean, honestly, as long as you're tuning your chassis appropriately for the outside surface, you're not gonna have anything. You're not gonna have anything happen to your car.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon's asking if he can bring his RER.
Yes, highly recommended, Brandon, because I wanted to drive mine with Groggy last night when he was driving his RER, and then he pulled off because his battery died or something like that. I want to drive my Travis with the D-like, so
that'd be interesting, because it's kind of the same idea, but
yeah,
the Travis is very minimal compared to the RER.
Yeah, and he was running T-likes on his, and so I ran over to try and put mine on, and then his battery died. So
It's like, no.
yeah, not okay.
Red Cat Lightning Drift tires. What the crap is that? I don't know what that
Never
is.
heard of it.
Jesse, what are those? Red Cat Lightning Drift tire. I don't know. Anyway, so keep that in mind. It looks like we have some yeses, which is cool.
Couple of them, yeah.
And yeah. I think that does it for the stream tonight. You guys have anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. I think it's been a good, definitely a good show.
For
It's awesome
sure.
to be on here.
Okay, you guys, if you want to be on the show, just let me know. And as long as you're not annoying in real life, then you can be on the show.
Yeah.
And I actually mean that 100% of the way. Like, this is meant to be just like the chill spot. We're just talking, right? We can be nerds about it, but yeah, we're just talking. That's about it.
Everyone,
Anyway.
charge your batteries, get a good night's sleep, be ready for tomorrow. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm coming down there with my A game. So
Yeah,
I'm coming.
I'm excited. I'm
coming
excited
with.
for after the comp, so we can all just drive and jam together.
yeah, that'll be cool.
I'm coming
That's
with
what I
my B game.
You
Anyways,
need to bring your MC1 down, Jake, and so we can mess with it.
Do what?
You need to bring your MC1 down so we can mess with it some more. Since I've made a lot of improvements on mine.
Yeah, it actually belongs to Neil now, but I still have my mini, so I'll bring
that's
the mini, my mini MC1.
Yeah,
I'm upset with you.
no, I think Neil might put his mini back together. So that'll
That's
be
what
cool.
that's what he bought. That's what he bought it. Yeah, he was like, "Yo, I need."
Okay, so thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. You guys take care. If you're coming tomorrow, drive safe, because I know most of you guys come from Portland. Yeah, them Oregon drivers be all kinds of messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you guys suck.
Oh yeah, you both of you are in Washington. Dang.
Yeah.
Got the Washington guys.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You guys take care.
All right.
And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, we'll see some of you tomorrow. Later.
See ya.
Bye.